back again for another episode of the Young Millionaire in Training podcast. As always, y'all know I'm gonna say I have a super special guest because I don't ask anything but super special people to be on my show. So this young lady that I came across a few months ago, um, she operates in a very near and dear space to me. So y'all know this season, these last two seasons, really last two seasons of the podcast have been focused around mental health. Y'all also know how much I learned or how much I love firearms, technical stuff, protecting because I'm one of those, I'm a girl dad. I don't even think I told you that, Tasha. I'm a girl dad. So for me, it was my girls, and I know that I'm the only thing that stand between my girls and the outside world. So I had to make sure that I could take care of that in a way that would be comforting to me. So I say that to say we have Miss LaTasha, even though we're going to call her Tasha tonight, Oliver, the tactical social worker. And I was so intrigued when I came across that because I was like, wait, we got technical stuff and mental health. Yeah, I was like, whoa, I'm like, I love this. I love this. And I want to make sure I use the correct term, not just necessarily make it about that, but her partner, Body by O, he, I saw him also a couple of months ago, and I really, really love what he was saying. And then just following both of you all, and I was like, yeah, but I gotta have her. I was like, I love O and what she was saying, but she is just so near and dear to my heart with the social work piece of it as well. So I wanted to definitely reach out because I was debating and I was like, no, I want to make sure that my women get an opportunity to hear from a woman that can also speak on the mental health, speak on the protecting yourself, speak on being ready for whatever the case may be. So I know I just said a whole lot. However, the wonderful Miss Tasha, the technical social worker, if you can give us a brief bio, because you know you better than I do.
I so appreciate that. I also appreciate you for when you mentioned social worker, not automatically relating that to I'm out here taking folks' kids.
Yeah,
Those are
nah.
caseworkers, not social workers. So I do love that social work for you was strictly related to mental health because
Yep,
that's what it is. It's
absolutely.
just very broad. That's why you see so many social workers in different facets. A lot of us are entrepreneurs. We get to make up how we want to make mental health make sense,
I
if that
love
makes
it.
sense.
I love it.
But I used to be so scripted in a way. I gave my bio and people were like, well, who are you? And I would name all of these roles and titles and accomplishments. And I'm like, that's not me. That's stuff I did. So um when you ask like my bio, like who am I? Like me. That varies, like depending on the space I'm in, depending on the person I'm interacting with. Overall encompassing, I'm a human in this lifestyle. Like I got my little lady in the background, like this is a human experience as a spiritual being. So I am here to get what's needed of me in this lifetime, make the impact that I need be by fulfilling my purpose, and that looks however I need it to look in the moment. So
No, absolutely.
yeah.
So tell me a little bit about what even made you become a social worker. Like I said, you can feel free to go in is in depth or whatever the case may be, but was that something from your personal life where you was like, I'm trying to figure this out about me and now I can help others? Or was it just, hey, I just like doing this?
So when I first graduated high school, I thought I wanted to be an ER nurse. It's like way back in the early 2000s in '02. Did like a semester and a half, and I was like, yeah, this ain't for me. So life happened, life went by. Fast forward, I'm like, okay, I want to go back to college, but don't know what. Took one of those career assessments, believe it or not. They had therapist on there, they had counselor, and they had social worker. So those three things popped up. So my undergraduate is in human services with a concentration in management. So I didn't know then I wanted to be a social worker. It was kind of like midway through my undergrad program, I came across two social workers that both had two professors that were social workers that had their own practices and additional nonprofit. And I was like, wait a minute, y'all do what? So that kind of like hooked and roped me in. I'm originally from Louisiana, from Shreveport, Louisiana. So the closest social work school to me for as grad school was Grambling. Grambling
Yep.
had some issues with their credentialing at the time, and I was like, I am not playing
No.
with that. So I was like, you know what? What's the next closest off I-20? And University of Texas in Arlington was it. So I'm like, okay, I need to go to Texas. Don't know how I'm gonna make it make sense, but I need to get to Texas. And met the husband the following year who was already planning to relocate his business to Texas. And that kind of just rolled all up into one. And here we are like 9 years later.
Nice.
So, but going from the undergrad to grad school, I just knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I didn't know in what facet. I just knew like the W-2 world wasn't going to be a permanent space for me. So that's where kind of I'll say get to give him his credit, or I'll say his influence, give him his flowers while he here. So to him. So with that, that's where the influence, where the tactical part of the social worker came in. So of course, like the firearm portion of it, and even to break down the word tactical, to be strategic, to have a plan. I'm very intentional about what I do and don't do, what I do and don't give energy to. So just approaching life as a whole, whether we're talking about mental health, relationships, parenting, friends, dating, things like that, just having a more intentional approach. I understand why I'm doing what I do, down to understanding the patterns and how I show up in the world and in the space. So for me, the tactical social worker piece for my brand goes beyond the firearms training piece of it.
Oof.
Yeah, a
Man.
lot.
I love that. I was
If
like,
it's for you, it's for you. If it's not, you may catch it later. If you don't, it's fine too.
yeah, look, so I told her before we started recording that I was fanboying a little bit. And this is exactly why I was fanboying, because she just be dropping yeah, she be dropping the heat just nonstop. And I love it because it's so, for me, it's so great to see people, especially women of color, be so passionate about things. And then not only things, but things that make sense. At least it makes sense to me. Let me not necessarily get on other people, but things that make sense to me, and do it in a logical place. Even when you were referring to, what I want to spend energy with, like being tactical is not just about dealing with guns. It's like I'm being strategic in all aspects of my life. And I really, really love that outlook that you have there. So kind of piggybacking on that. So my platform, they know it's no secret that I do enjoy my guns, and I'm a 2A supporter and all that good stuff. Which, like I said, it's initially why your platform even caught my eye, because I like the gun stuff. However, because I'm also in a mental health space, I was just completely sold. I'm like, yes, yes, because a lot of times they get separated unnecessarily. Almost what I'm kind of getting at is, you have one side that says, there's a problem with the guns, and then you have one side that says it's a mental health issue, and then and I'm like, but whoever said that they had to be monolithic? Like, we can deal with both of them in a correct way at the same time. So I actually enjoy that you put both of those things at the forefront. So tell me about what made you get into firearms, and then also how did you figure out you wanted to incorporate that with the mental health?
Okay, so to give a little backstory to that, we know we live in a dominant monogamous society, and this goes beyond romantic partners, dating, being with only one person. Even the thought process is monogamous in the sense of not allowing space for two things that may appear contradictory to exist. So I do understand how people say mental health is more so liberal, even down to social workers. Social work itself, the profession, appearing to be liberal. I'm gonna let air quotes, make sure that's in there. And then firearms supposedly being conservative. So of course most people are like, well, they don't go together. And I'm like, why not? Like, if we are understanding that the 2A is there so we can protect ourselves, how well can we protect something when we don't understand the value of it? how well can we protect a thing if we don't even know what safety feels and looks like within whatever that space is, So going back to, I don't hardly follow rules anyway. I got my ass beat as a kid for following rules, not following rules, stuff just inconsistent all over the place. So you know what? Let me figure out what makes sense for me as an adult. So when people say things don't go together, I'm like, says who? Maybe if not for you, but that doesn't apply to me. So for me, mental health and firearms made sense. So to get into how I got into firearms training, my husband told me I needed to. That was simple as that. So I'm like, I come from small town Shreveport, up I-20 East in Louisiana. Small city has its own like issues, crime, stuff like that. But moved to Texas and y'all got people jumping in folks' cars and like kidnapping people and people ending up missing and like family having to bury them. Oh, that's how y'all operate out here. Okay, the husband say I need to train, so I need to train. Enough said. Like it was nothing to discuss beyond that. I was 7 or 8 months into training back in 2017. Before I kind of like came into my last year of grad school. That's where the conversation around like traumas, how trauma develop, like how deeply that level of negative programming is ingrained in our subconscious. That's scary to the point you're not even aware of those patterns. So when I'm thinking about trauma and I'm like, we got all this stuff going on and we're having to technically clean up messes due to whatever programming from childhood that I'll say that is the cause of problematic behaviors today. Now, getting into the whole us being responsible for cleaning up those messes, that's a whole nother topic within itself. But I'm like, if I have all of this stuff that I technically have to clean up, messes that I didn't make in my life to get my mental health in order, you think I'm gonna let you add to it? I don't like cleaning up behind people, whether we talking about literally or figuratively. So you ain't gonna make no mess over here. So if we're in my space, you gonna act like you got some sense. Like when you go to grandma, auntie in them house. No, you gonna get in here and sit your ass down and act like you got some sense. I treat my physical, I'm so serious. I treat my energetic spaces the same way. So for me, firearms training made sense because I need to go home from whether for me, for my son, for my husband, and whatever purpose that I have here that spirit gave me. I got stuff to do. And I'm not gonna let nobody get in the way of it, myself included. So I'm damn sure not gonna let you get in my way. So move, please and thank you. So that's kind of where the firearms training made sense outside of my husband just telling me I need to do it. And then the integration of the mental health piece for it. Because, and let's take, and some men say I be picking on them, but I don't really care at this point. Whatever. I see so many men training at the range, and it goes beyond just shooting a piece of paper. Like you have the power of life and death in your hand. The reality of it is we can tote pistols on our shirt all day, pew, 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 ping, 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 post pictures and targets. But the fact of it is, to save a life, you might have to take one. You're going to be responsible for some woman crying her eyes out because you done took her son, her child, her brother, her dad, whatever the case may be. Are you really ready for that? I mean, they do have trauma therapy for it, but are you really ready for that? And I think we don't really understand that piece, even down to, yeah, if you're real, let's say you take somebody that's real good at setting limits. They like, okay, this is how I operate. Here's my limits when people, and I put it like that. So whether it's how people talk to them, people walking up on them. So it's good you have these boundaries and these limits in place for yourself. You know how you want your interactions with other people to look, but if somebody decide that they don't care what you're talking about, what is the deal breaker for making sure you get that respect that you're asking for? The firearm is the deal breaker. Like it's a tool of compliance, it's a tool of protection. It's just an additional tool to ensure you maintain whatever that safe space is. So that's kind of where the integration of all of that, from the firearms to the mental health, and then now we got my baby tactical social worker. So yeah, all of that under that umbrella.
Kind of to that point, you highlighted something, and I'm going a little bit off script here. That recent situation that's been going around with the mother and the son that shot the guy in the restaurant. And to your point where you said, are you ready for that with that mental trauma that may come from taking a life to save one? And now you're seeing his mother speaking up, and I saw the day that she was putting a lawsuit against the cops for for dropping the charges. And I'm like, did you not see your son punching this woman? Like, where was this energy at for him punching this lady in the face? Because like like, what do you mean you're suing the cops? I mean, I get that it sucks, but it's like he was put. I don't. As a man, I have literally zero reason in my head that I can conceptualize why I'm going to fully cock back my arm and punch a
Yep.
woman in the face. That's not actively hitting, like that's not actively doing anything to me. Like, it's one thing if she's attacking me, okay, like maybe I need to figure out how to stop this, but
Yeah.
he wasn't in danger. Like, by nothing about that made me feel like he was in danger. Walk away. Just walk away. Let your pride go. Walk away.
Yeah. We all have consequences to the decisions we make, and I know my husband spoke on the legalities of it. He's the legal person, and I'm just like, there was so much from a mental health perspective in that situation. I saw two people, egos, wounded inner children, tussling back and forth, just tussling. Nobody wanted to walk away. Nobody wanted to hush. It was all about, and I have this saying like, what are you trying to prove, and to who and why? Like, so everybody has consequences in that. The only person I see not that did act in their own accord was the son. He's a baby. The fact that he makes straight A's, he do what he's told. He does his work. He did what his mama told him to do, and my heart goes out for the baby in that situation, because even if he saw that necessary, that's still something he has to process. We don't know which way he's going to go, whether he's going to have a disregard for life, or whether we just don't know how that situation may go. So I'm really hoping he get some mental health services that are quality to help him process this situation, like, because that changes people. I don't care what nobody say. Taking a life changes people. Things less traumatic changes you, for sometimes for the better or worse. And I just hope his mental health can be prioritized, like, post this situation. Like, my son just turned 15 yesterday. That's
happy birthday to him too.
Us June babies, like Cancer.
Yeah, I see.
Gang, gang.
I see. Yeah, I see. Y'all got all kind of birthdays around there. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Happy belated birthday to Miss Tasha. She just had a birthday, which we're actually gonna talk a little bit about that trip that you told me, because I wanted to ask some questions about it. So a little bit about me within the firearm realm and even that mental health space. So I was one of those wonderful COVID gun people. I'm one of those. Yeah, one of them COVID gun people. So for me, I was not anti-gun. Well, I was not pro-gun or anti-gun. If you would have asked me, I would have said that I was pro-gun. But me looking back at me now, I was really more leaning towards anti-gun than pro-gun. It was, I mean, if that's what you want to do, but yeah, like that's where I was kind of at with it. Gotcha. So then COVID kicked off, and I have a 3-year-old daughter. She was born to September prior to COVID, so she's like 8-9 months old. I have a 10-year-old daughter, but she lives in North Carolina with her mother, but they're one in the house with me. And I'm sitting here thinking we about to go through The Walking Dead. So I like, I'm like, I don't know what's coming. And I'm sitting here, I was like, I got my wife in here, I have my daughter in here. And if people start coming like door to door and they want to like take all our stuff, like, what am I really going to do? Just ask them not to? Like, what am I really going to do? And I'm responsible for these people. Like, I'm responsible for me, but I'm responsible. And like, my daughter changed my view on that. So I don't want to go down the super long story on it. However, so I went and purchased my first firearm. It was a Taurus G2C. Yes, I went cheap. Yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna do my best not to.
Yeah, no, I was totally wrong.
You don't know what you don't know. Yeah, to somebody show you don't know, and even then you got to be receptive that you don't know.
Right, so, because in my mind it was a gun. How much I need to spend on a gun? They all killed on it, that kind of stuff. So I went and bought that. And and it's a little, a little me thinking I don't want something too strong, so let me get something little, not even understanding that bigger guns shoot better, like not knowing any of these things. Like
Right.
I had shotguns before, but never anything like that.
Like a handgun. Okay.
So then roll around, November comes, the election roll, and I'm like, I don't know what's about to go on from either side, because I was like, depending on who win, it could get crazy on either side. Yeah, I was like,
everybody wanted to smoke.
Right. So I was like, I have no idea. So I actually went into the store. I went to get an AR-15, which I'm actually going somewhere with that, which is why I'm bringing it up this direction.
Patricia.
I went to get an AR-15. Didn't like the price. Just didn't like the price, because I'm in a totally different mindset than where I'm at now. Didn't like the price. I'm like, $800,000, which is actually fairly cheap for an AR-15. But right, but in my mind, I'm like, this G2C person, okay, at the time. And I ended up leaving with a shotgun that was a semi-auto shotgun, because I was like, well, at least it looked like an AR, and I was like, I shouldn't have to use it anyway, so it's okay. Fast forward one more time. Now we're in January. My wife said she had a dream that somebody had came in the door, and I only had my little G2C up by the bed. And she was like, well, what happened if we downstairs? She was like, you need to get one for downstairs.
Come on, sis. And come on, you for listening. I
she
love
said
it.
you need to get one. And I was like, okay. I was like, all right, cool. I go get one. Once again, being cheap, got a Smith, not Smithfield, excuse me.
Smith and Wesson.
Smith and Wesson SD9.
Okay.
Yes, the one with the 300-pound trigger. Yes, ma'am. And yeah, right. So this is what kicked off how I arrived here. I got that gun. So now I have 3 in the house. In my mind, I have like the most guns ever, because I was like, why in the world do I have 3 guns in my house? But whatever.
I bet you can answer that question now.
I'm not even finna tell them how many. I'm not even finna say that. It didn't have a safety on it. Okay. And this is actually what I'm talking part of the reason. So I'm going 2 ways with this. It did not have a safety on it. My G2C had a safety on it. My shotgun had a safety on it. This gun didn't have a safety on it. I thought I just didn't know enough about the gun to find the safety. So I got on YouTube, started educating myself, and went down a complete and total rabbit hole from a safety standpoint, because I was like, I need to know exactly what I'm doing here. Okay. So my question for you here, as I'm going, and I wanted to kind of share that also for the audience and for you, so the perspective I'm coming from. First, I want to talk about, for women in particular, because I told you 68% women on my platform. What was your biggest motivation to teach women and men as well about protecting themselves with and without firearms, and like where you saw a issue? Because I know for me, without COVID, I most likely would not have seen that issue there.
Okay. So, my sisters, I would say, in addition to my own experience, I never forget, and I wish I remember this lady name, because listening to her story and the look on her face when she came back to train, she was training with us consistently. This was like back 2017. We learned that baby would keep her gun in the trunk when she left the range. She in the trunk, in the box she bought it in. We didn't know. We assumed she kept it on her, like she was, practicing drawing from concealment, things like that. So I'm thinking like it's on her. Made that assumption. Now I ask. I know now, but she was a nurse that worked overnight. If I'm not mistaken, she was working at Parkland. She was tired coming home from work like early one morning, late, like with the sun still like not out yet. A homeless man. She was sitting at the light, kind of. I don't remember if she said if she was nodding off or like in a daze, daydreaming or whatever. He pulled on her door handle, and it scared the living shit out of her. And all she could think was, "My gun is in the trunk. My gun is in the trunk." So we went through a whole bunch of like what if scenarios. What if he had broke your window? What if your door just wasn't locked? Like, things like that. And it changed amidst me being in grad school and the whole trauma thing and mental health and all of that kind of like spinning, making sense for me. And I'm like, oh, this is what we doing out here. Like, so I'm going through my own, like, hey, Tasha, get your shit together. And then hearing that, I'm like, yeah, I don't need to learn the hard way. If I see somebody tell me some stink, don't touch that, I ain't got to go try it out for myself. I'm good. I get it. I learn. I don't need to experience firsthand for me to get it. So with that, and I'm just like, why would it just be in the trunk? Then it realized it wasn't making sense. Like, we can understand the need for something as a people, but not yet have that value to take it seriously, to prioritize it, if that makes sense. So accountability. That's a cuss word. It's blasphemy for us in the community and as just grown-ups across the world. Accountability, being responsible and being accountable. We don't like to hear it. We just don't like to hear it. So starting out, people see here, I'm a Black woman. I live, breathe for my sisters. The message I have is for everybody. Like, everybody can benefit from it. Primarily when I'm talking to me from a place of experience, of like the Black woman experience. So with that, I'm sure right now, in less than 1 minute, you can name 3 Black women that I'm bossed the hell up in less than ideal circumstances. So if we have the ability to boss up in every area of life, whether it's single parenting, whether it's at work, whether it's with our siblings, just whatever. You mean to tell me when it comes to our safety, we gonna scooch that back over to the man, but we've just like, don't worry about it. You know what? That don't worry about it, I got it energy. But then when it comes to keeping ourselves safe, we like, oh no, I'm helpless. No, sis, no, you're not. No, you're not. The same way we bossed up in this area and that area, we're going to transfer that into keeping us safe. Because from our hair to our nails to skin, these trips, bags, phones, we protect all of that. Whether we talking about travel protection, we won't sit our bag on the floor. We ain't sitting our phone down. We be goddamn somebody step on our shoes. So all of this. So you mean to tell me we do all of this to dress up this, but within here and here, and even energetically, you just out here being reckless. That's what we doing. So for me, it had to be a sense of, how are we going to protect those things we value? And if we say we know our worth and we know our value, how are we showing that? Starting with ourselves. So it's a sense of responsibility we have to ourselves, and we quick, and it's like the saying, talking about people fumbled you. No, you fumbling you, because you irresponsibly managed your own energy. If you know that person doesn't have the capacity to responsibly manage what comes along with dating you or being in your space, then why did we irresponsibly hand that over to them? So I've been operating from a space, and it's my goal to empower women to be more responsible with themselves. So we not from out here fumbling ourselves, because it starts with us. So almost like handing over that power, that responsibility to other people, whether we talking about emotionally safe, being romantically safe, being sexually safe. Like, at some point we gonna have to boss up in that too, especially if we say the Black man in society ain't looking out for us, then who gonna look out for us then? So I'm like, we have to start with ourselves and be able to weed people out and use discernment to know who's good for us and who's not. So yeah, I'm like, that whole R word and that A word, folks don't like to hear it, but confirmation ain't meant to feel good all the time, but it's definitely needed.
Absolutely. And that even goes back to what you said initially about being tactical, looking at everything strategically in all aspects of your life. On that, because that's even my thing. Because I've even told people since I've started carrying, which I'm not a confrontational person by nature, but it's made me even less confrontational, because I was like, I don't want to have to get to a point where I have to deal with this, with what I have on my waist. Because at that point, matter of fact, 2 days ago, I had a conversation with my wife. We were talking about the situation with the guy that got shot again. And I was telling her, she was like, I said, I can't blame him, because I said, if somebody was punching my mom like that, I was like, I'm pretty certain I would shoot him. I was like, then again, I said, maybe with that one, just the way I'm looking at it, I said, I might have would have tussled with him a little bit. I was like, because I said I think I probably could have handled that one without my gun, because I'm probably would have came from the perspective of anybody that's weak enough to hit a woman like that is not somebody who's really, really about that life anyway, in my mind.
Yeah.
I was like, I probably would have tussled with him a little bit. She was like, well, you probably would have pulled a gun out, but you probably wouldn't have shot him. And I was like, no, got to stop you there. Because once I pull it out, that was my reason for pulling it out. I wasn't pulling it out to scare nobody.
That's a felony within itself.
Right.
Flash your gun if you want to.
Yeah, that's why I was like, no. I pulled it out. That I pulled it out to use it. I didn't pull it out. I'm not trying to scare nobody. I'm not interested in scaring people. But like you said, that being strategic. Piece about it. So before I get to the last question here, let's talk about this birthday trip. Like I said, happy birthday to you again. On that. So my question for you, I know you mentioned going to Mexico. On that. So of course you are always about protecting yourself. I've seen your content, I've seen O's content. So I know y'all are like, if I'm outside, I'm carrying you. So what's that like when you're in a foreign country and it's not that way? Also, let me preface it by saying this. I recently got invited somewhere, actually to Cancun, and I was going to take, but we were going to take my daughter, my 3-year-old daughter, and this was right around the time when they were heavily kidnapping people, and I was like, I decided not to go. It was just kind of in my spirit not to go, because I was like, well, she looks like a target, my daughter. I was like, if they want to do something, like she just makes it a little bit more obvious. I was like, if it was me and my wife, I'd probably just go. But I was like, in my mind, she just comes more of a target, and I can't have my I call them my little Texas toys, but I can't have my Texas toys with me. So there. So what was that like mentally for you all, or through preparation? How did that differ from when you're operating here day to day?
Okay. So before I address that, I want to go back and add something to the prior conversation.
Oh, so sorry. Yeah, please.
No apologies needed. I be telling my clients, like, if you ain't did nothing wrong, stop apologizing. We got to stop apologizing for being human. So,
fair enough.
To when you made the statement about like what you would have done in that situation, I didn't, when that whole situation with Miss Hood and her son, I thought about, because my son at the time when that happened was 14. So I'm thinking in my head, and it goes back to the power we have as women, and we don't realize it, that her instructions, directives for her son show the power we as Black women have over Black men, even though he's a child. Take that, and I'm gonna give you a situation I had with my son. Dude is like 6'1" now. He's about 6'5", 11, maybe 6 feet at the time. He like, plain to say, I'm nice. I know what I look like. I know what I look like when I step outside. People gonna see me. Men and women, they gonna see me. We were somewhere, and my son caught this man looking at me, and he was like, Mom, if he come over here, I'm a blah, blah, blase, blase. Oh, wait a minute. So in my head, I'm like, little homie, nuts and drop. Testosterone is like, and I'm like, no, sir. Like, no, if he comes over here, I'm going to address him. That's an outdo. That's not for you to do. But what if he, okay, anxiety, and I'm a therapist, so it's like mom and therapist brain operating together. I need you. Let's say things go sideways. Let's entertain your thought process. And situation goes sideways. Me as the adult, I got this. I got us. What I need you to do is call Mr. O and get him here immediately. I got this. I cannot be worried with you and me in that situation. I promise you, you're going to see what your mom, it's cute to see it at the range, but you're going to see it in real time. I need you to stay out of it. So just to show how stuff like talking to each other, conversations, being able to like entertain them what if scenarios, because his testosterone was ready to protect his mama. I'm just like, sir, he looking like you look at little girls, like this just in grown up form. He see me. I look good. Like, I understand why he wants to approach me. I got it, son. I promise you I got it. Let me take care of it. And situation played out. I told dude no, sent him on his way, and that was fine. So just to kind of show the power we as women have, and the power of our tongue, what we say, positive or negative, on how it can change the way, how it can just change what's activated, I'll say, inside of our children or even inside of our partners. So it's a lot of responsibility.
No, that's
And
dope. And that's a very dope perspective. Also, just so you
yeah.
know, the reason I was laughing it was not about what you were saying, because what you were saying was spot on. I was laughing because you said what I was thinking. Because I was like, I don't know who that gentleman was that was looking or decided he wanted to approach you. But I said, look, as she referred to him earlier, her husband, they done got up here on Liam Neeson's internet and called this man the Black John Wick. This is not nobody you want to deal with, okay? Yeah,
Yeah.
like this just not even no problem.
Yeah. For
They
real.
done
I'm
call
like,
this man the Black John Wick. Yeah, like bro, it's not
listen,
worth it, bro. It's
I'm
not
like,
worth it.
the husband does it in real life. So in my eyes, he's better than John Wick. But I'm
Right.
like, by the time he got there, the situation would have been deaded, done, and over with. Like, I need my
Yes.
husband here as support. Because at that point, I'm just like, I ain't talking to no goddamn body. Call you at
Mm-hmm.
CCA. You know, had things went
Mm-hmm.
sideways like that. But I was like, my son was like ready for he was with the shits. And I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, when
But
did
at
this
the
happen?
time, thinking about he was approaching 13. So I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
it's that just that raw just kind of naturally in men and in boys sometime, and we have to like be able to shape it and mold it to use it constructively, because I damn sure don't want him to be unhinged like Jeremy when he get, so I need him to be able to manage his emotional responses to situation. And I know we're going to go back into the whole Cancer, the birthday situation. He's a Cancer spirited as well. We are known for being emotional beings. It's not good or bad. We have a relationship with what we feel and what we think and what we believe. So at some point, I have to be able to mold that to him so he's not out here wreaking havoc on the community.
Right.
So,
No, that's
yeah.
beautiful. And you did just make a good point. He do it in real life. That does actually make him better than John Wick. So
Yeah.
I do have to agree with you totally on that. So
Yes.
tell me about the trip,
Saloons.
the Tulum.
Okay.
Yeah, tell me about the Tulum trip.
So we operate so in sync to the point we don't even have them discussions no more. We kind of have like what if scenarios when we be watching people, we see people looking at us, and I know we're an attractive couple. We fine as hell as individuals and together. So I know people be watching us, like, and I know we draw attention, to ourselves. So I'll say like maybe more so in airports than anything when we kind of like most alert, because just like it goes down in airports, like it just
Right.
it does. And then even like from the ride from the airport to the resort, it just was like, okay, we have to use the restroom, we hungry, we thirsty, we finna thug this out to the resort. We ain't stopping, we ain't pulling over nowhere, because it's
Mm-hmm.
like fist, elbows. And we even joked about like if something was to happen, like, about collapsing somebody's trachea and then me giving them a blow to the temple, like it's gonna happen in like less than a fraction of a second. Like we finna
Mm-hmm.
use elbows and fists, like it's going, it's going down. But this was like when we was in transit from the resort to the airport, because
Yep.
once we was on the resort, it wasn't anything like, I'll say, weird or anything going on that kind of like raised any red flags for us. But even just with traveling, even like on cruises, when we went on a cruise for his birthday back in April, kind of just being off the resort and doing excursions. No, we didn't have our firearms, but I was like, it's plenty of weapons around you. Like if you pay attention to your surroundings, especially if you outside in nature, from
Mm-hmm.
rocks in it, like anything, like so we do have those talks with each other, like just in case the what ifs, especially if we see somebody that just look like, hey, you see them over there who watch TV a lot. So you relate like what you see on
Mm-hmm.
TV in the movies
Yep.
to real life, and kind of we sometimes use those scenarios to kind of entertain what if situations when we're out. Now I will say I have a different, I won't say less, but I have a different level of awareness when I'm with him versus when I'm with versus when I'm with versus when I'm by myself. The awareness level is different.
No,
So
that's a really good point, because I know that was the piece, that transit piece, when we went to Jamaica, my wife and I, because there's a stop where they let you stop, because I think it was like an hour and a half, so they stopped like halfway in between for the restroom, and everybody is kind of simultaneously on our little van was like, nah, we
no,
good.
you
Yeah, I
keep
hope,
going.
because I said the same way that y'all know that stop, other people know that stop.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
I was
see
like,
it every day.
yep. I was like, no, we good. I'm straight.
No, a tourist in another American in another country. No, people already don't like America as it is. I ain't trying to be hog tied, and it ain't even going down like that. And I don't know if you saw the movie Plane. with Gerard Butler and Brother Man that played Luke Cage.
Yep.
Like that. I'm damn sure not trying to end up like that. No, we going down fighting, kicking, and streaming. Like we're not doing that. So
Agreed. So two last things. One, and I hope I don't send it down some major rabbit hole. This is honestly more a question for me. Well, no. Actually, I want to go a different direction with it. I'm not even gonna go that direction because I was about to nerd out on guns. Because I told you that the last 3 years have just been, yeah, that's been there.
Ain't nothing wrong with nerding out.
Yeah, I know. One of the things you had actually mentioned when we were talking, consultations on purchasing firearms. And so just I know that you're referring to when people are initially getting into it and want to do so they don't necessarily go in there and get that G2C just because it's the cheapest one in
or
there.
that little Sky.
Yeah, or please, I mean, unless they want to blow their hand off. Unless they want to blow their hand off. But
oh my goodness.
So I know you get the question, and some of the women out there may be even wondering. And I will let you all know I hate this question. Like I said, as I've been studying and digging into it and this, that, and the third, there is no perfect firearm for a woman. Each individual person has their own preference, regardless of sex, race, creed, size, whatever. There's no one size fits all. So with that being said, tell me about that consultation piece that you do, because that's not something that a lot of people offer. Like people just be showing up with some of anything. I know you know that probably better than I do.
Yeah. The matter of fact, the first time I did a consultation, lady was at the range. She was training with me and O and the gun. And I want to say she either had a Taurus or a Sky, but it was like it wouldn't fire. Like she would pull the trigger, like she wasn't able to tap rack main, clear malfunctions. We left the range, and this was pre-COVID because we left the range, went to academy, she purchased a gun, and we came back to the range and finished training. That's actually how we got into the firearm consult. For me, it's more so kind of like the dealing most of the time. When I say most of the time, I'm talking about like 98, 99% of the time. The men behind the counter selling the gun, sir, you a salesman. You're not a firearms instructor. And even within, like, still your knowledge is still limited to only your experiences. So trying to tell somebody what's a good, but there is no beginner gun. Just like it's not a beginner car. Like, what does your comfort level say and what does your pocket say? That's what we need to be looking at. So that whole women being screwed over or trying to be pushed to hell, my pistol sitting right here, like right here. You know, being pushed to a certain gun because you need a small gun or your small hands. I've seen with women with hands that look like they would slap the taste out of a man's mouth. So we can't, like use those narratives because not all women have small hands. Like my hand's not big, but my fingers are long. Like I need a full-size firearm comfortably, and even more so with that, like when I wear nails, then what? So considering all of that stuff, like is she gonna be carrying in her purse? Is she gonna be carrying under her shirt? Like things like that. So those are factors to consider when purchasing a firearm. So I do go with women, whether we feel it on guns, no different than when you're trying on heels or you buying purses. You put them on and you see if you like them before you walk out of there. Also do, but like with the firearms training, provide firearm rentals. So they have about 5 to 7 different platforms of firearms that they can use, like within their introduction introduction session, so they can kind of get a feel of what they might like. If they end up shooting like one of our rentals that they like, then you found your gun, unless you want to keep looking. And then we can go to the store, we can meet up there, and we can kind of go through like price range, and then holding the firearm to see like what fits, what feels good. Because whether you go buy it first and don't shoot it, or either way, you're going to have to train with it. That's the only way. You have to build a relationship with your firearm down to knowing where your trigger wall is at, knowing how to use your trigger reset, like all of those things. And that does not happen if you don't spend time with your firearm.
No, absolutely. No, definitely. Thank you for that, because that's a big one. Because like I said, I think it was probably the first 4 that I bought. I shouldn't even have bought. I shouldn't even have bought.
Learning lessons.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, it was some expensive lessons. But yeah, I want to say the first 4 I bought, I shouldn't even have bought. But even like now, because next thing that I got on my list is a staccato, because I'm just like totally falling in love with triggers because of that SD and that 300-pound trigger. And I saw how me trying to cause me to jerk it, like, and I'm slapping at it because it's so heavy. And I found out, oh, okay, if I get this kind of trigger, then and it feels like this. And like you said, learning that wall, learning the break, learning all that, learning all those things. Okay, this is what I like. And I think that a lot of times, especially women, and if they're let me make sure I say this correctly. You're always your first responder. However, if you're single and you're really, I don't want to say really your first responder, you're your only responder. Maybe that's a better way for me to say it, where there's nobody else for you to defer to. It can be very nerve-wracking, I know, for a lot of women, because I've had them express that, like going in there into the store and buy a gun. I don't know what to get. And
it's overwhelming.
Right. And then also just that piece of like you were talking about, what there's no good beginner gun, and you got that salesman, they were like, well, get a Glock, it's reliable. And I'm like, okay, yes. However, let's think about this. Who are we dealing with? Are you talking about the lady who's going to keep it in the trunk anyway, and she going to shoot it once a month, maybe? I was like, a lot of them are going to be reliable up to 1,000, 3,000, 4,000 rounds. I was like, now if we talking 10,000 rounds, okay, yeah, maybe we do need to go that direction. But the vast majority of people are not shooting their weapons that frequently, although they probably should.
Right.
And those are things that I think they kind of like take for granted sometimes. So they just push them into something that they don't even.
They that'll make a sale, and that is them people. And I'm saying it on them people don't give a damn about you. They there to make a sale. And Absolutely. I'm like, and I get the whole, and I'm thankful to have had my husband, somebody who was actually a credible firearms instructor in the process. And he wasn't, and I know he may say something like that. I know it's not coming from a place of ego, but I do know he get a sense of pride to be like, yeah, that's my wife. My wife can probably outshoot you. So I know, because I've heard him say, stuff like that before. So I don't take my situation for granted, and I'm just like, all my sisters ain't got access to a husband like mine. So if I'm like, if this information is being poured in me, it cannot stop with me. It can't. So it's like I'm doing a disservice to just like the women I come in contact with if I'm not sharing nuggets along the way. It's kind of like when we find a good thing, sometimes we try to sit on it and keep it for ourselves. Like, no, like let that stuff flow through you. The information, whatever it is, it'll come back to me.
No, absolutely. I forgot to touch on the AR piece, because that other question earlier. So I want to talk about that, because the one thing, once again, me talking about me being kind of anti-gun, because I was, well, what do you need an AR-15 for? Who are you trying to assault? All that good stuff. And I'm gonna tell you where my answer was. That's why if you had asked me this in 2018, I probably would have said something like that. Now, if you ask me and they were like, who you trying to assault? I was like, anybody that break that threshold right there that ain't supposed to be here. Yeah. That's who I'm trying to assault. Anybody that does that, that's who I have in mind when I'm doing it. But I say that to say, a lot of people think that's, especially the AR-15 world, is a good old boy club. And they think it's just those super right-wing neo-Nazi, whatever, lone beards, whatever, KKK club. And it's not. So explain to me where you stand at on the conversation. Like I said, my audience, they know exactly where I stand at on it, but where you stand on it from the perspective of being a Black woman.
Talking about with the AR?
Yeah, absolutely. AKs, ARs, whatever you want.
To be honest, I don't like it. Like, my husband has to make me train with my AR. I'm not gonna lie to you about nothing. Like, I be tired. It's heavy, and I just no. Like, me and him even got twin AR-15 16-inch barrels made. Like, Tom with Surplus Arm, he's in Philly. He's a Black gun manufacturer. Like, he threw them guns together in like 3 hours, and they be showing out with his. He went to a class by, I think, Buck Doyle, and he was like double tapping out to a mile with that rifle. So like, it's with training, they show up and show out. However, talking about like rifle platform, I love shotgun. Like, he has videos of his YouTube on his YouTube of me with the shotgun. I would prefer a shotgun. It's just I'm simple. I'm
Nice.
simple like that. But the AR, like he can talk to you all day about it. I can't make up nothing about it. I'll be pouting in class. Like
I be proud.
when it come to that, like it's yeah, like I can do what I need to do with it, but it's just like Tasha, bring your ass. We're not playing today. And I'm like, okay, I need to go train. And that's that. But I think how we choose to defend ourselves is our decision, and we cannot let someone else's response be our responsibility to like, well, no, I'm gonna do it because people gonna think. Damn them people, because when it boiled down to it, them same people be the ones critiquing how you defended yourself. So, you know,
No, I love
mm,
that. Oh, I
yeah,
definitely
I'm
love
not real big on like giving people that much credit. Like, yeah, it ain't hurting you either way, so stop talking to me. And why am I even talking to you? Like, no, shh, bye.
it. I love it. I
Mm,
love it. I love it. No, I do actually prefer pistols over the ARs as well. So I
yeah.
fully understand where you come from
Ooh,
about
but
that.
now my pistol, yeah,
Yeah, I actually prefer my
yeah,
pistols over ARs as well. If I have to choose, it's just obviously I know the necessity for certain situations.
yeah.
And also I definitely need that manufacturer's information
I
because
will.
I have
I
not been
will.
able to find one and I wanted one. Like a black manufacturer, black gun
Yeah.
manufacturer.
Yeah. O has a rifle line. The Hannibal, yeah, the whole rifle line.
I did not know
Thomas
that.
Epler's arm. Yeah, he has the whole rifle line named after him. So I'll make sure to get that information to you.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
gonna be the next one I purchase. Yeah, that is gonna be because I was about to say because I was somewhere between FN and SIG possibly, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'd rather that go there if I
Yeah.
can make it do that. I very much so rather that go there.
Yeah.
So if there's anything you care to share, what is the next move for Tasha, or what's next in the world of the tactical social worker?
Um, I'll say, although I have not been promoting classes, I do still train. Um, I am very I have a strong aversion to trends, to things that are trendy. And the sad reality of it is firearms training is cute right now. It's trendy. Like the therapist in me, my mental health brain is just like this shit ain't cute. Like
Right.
it's not cute. Like this is literally life and death, and you just wanna show up to classes to say you took a class, take a picture with somebody you feel is popular. No,
Mhm.
that's not what my space is for. It is life and death out here. Cause I'm gonna say something that's gonna trigger you and may have you crying. Good, because we're gonna sit there and we're gonna process it and we're gonna talk about it. Then we're gonna get back to training. Because the last thing I need or want is to have a client who I know trained to do a thing, but because you didn't take it seriously, now you literally seeing me as a therapy client for trauma counseling. So I've taken a more therapeutic approach to how helping women to be able to identify those safe spaces. Because what good is a firearm if you still let somebody walk up on you?
Nice.
So I just it doesn't sit well with me, and I don't like being affiliated with like the whole gun bunny stuff. I'm like, I'm a whole thug from Louisiana. Like, no.
I
So
love
I'll
it. I
be
love
joking and saying that I don't do no gang banging stuff outside of like my zodiac sign gang banging. But I'm like, literally, I'm like, I'm a Louisiana lady thugging in Texas. Like I can be cute and be deadly at the same time. Two opposites can coexist. Like yeah, just that whole cute stuff has its place. And when we're talking about our health and our life and our safety, I don't like to associate with spaces that don't prioritize things in the way I do because it's not in alignment with who I am or what I want my brand to be. So I have taken a more so mental health, a direct mental health approach before opening my classes up to the public. Like I'm only doing one-on-one training right now. Like you have to privately, like you have to request me so that I know you're serious. So that's the space I'm operating in right now until further notice from the spirits themselves. So
I love it. I love it. So tell the people, speaking of your classes or offerings, tell the people how to find you. Mention some of the things you offer and what's the best way to get in contact with you.
okay, so I guess we can start with Instagram. So Instagram, my platform is tactical social worker _P LLC. The links to everything is in my bio, but my Facebook is Tactical Social Worker. I have to send you my Twitter. I don't remember that one by heart because I be changing it. So
Understood.
So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. My email is tacticalsocialworker@gmail.com. Then some of the services from the firearms training from the beginning level to like the intermediate level. So at the intermediate level, that's kind of like where I hand women off to O, because that's where I train at the intermediate level. It's a lot of people think they experts out there until they get to O class. And I'm just like, no, and yeah, no. So but usually when that happens, I do, like, I am in class and I'm in those spaces like with the women I have trained with, so they can see it so they can see it in real time. So there's the firearms training, there's the mental health services. I also operate as a coach in certain spaces, and that's primarily with couples and with Black women, because I do have a specialty like in non-monogamous spaces. So the whole BDSM and kink, the whole non-monogamy, being polyamorous when it comes to couples or individuals. So those are like all things mental health, relationships, and firearms all wrapped in. And their website is tacticalsocialworker.com. So of course, put them 3 W's there, tacticalsocialworker.com.
Perfect. And all that information will be in the link to, or in the link of the episode, in the description of the episode, all those links there. So is there any thought or anything that you want to leave the people with before you leave? Motivational thought, something that helped you be you, anything, day to day, or whatever the case may be. Positive affirmation, anything that comes up.
I guess I'll leave with saying,
Take your time, because we're gonna cut
that's
this
a
piece
good
out.
one.
Yeah, we're gonna cut this piece
I
out.
have so much
take your
stuff
time.
bouncing around in my head. I'm like, any minute, mighty mo, which way do I go?
Yeah, take your time. Yeah, I'm about to say we're gonna cut this out, so you good. Take your time.
Okay. Okay, that's what you mean by dead space. Okay.
Yeah, like
I'm
this
really
area, we're
like,
gonna cut that out. So yeah, take your time. Because it's literally gonna be me asking you that and then you coming in with it. So yeah, take your time.
boy, these people be editing the videos be good as hell, and
Yeah,
you'll
they
never
do.
know.
Yeah,
It
he does.
makes sense why they charge what they charge.
Yeah. This is actually a Black guy. He's Jamaican that does it for me. Yeah, it's a Black guy. Because I try to use as many Black companies as I
Yeah,
possibly can for different things.
that makes sense. Okay. You know what? I know the saying is in the gun world, like nobody's coming to save you. Literally, the based on our wounding as children, we're looking for someone to validate us, to save us, to show us we're enough. That person is you. So I leave with saying, you need you. Yeah, you need you.
I love that. I love that. And I agree fully. Agree fully. Well, Miss Tasha, the wonderful tactical social worker, thank you so much for gracing us with all of your energy. I love your energy. This was actually the first time that I've had a chance to talk to her outside of just via email and social media. So I love your energy. I appreciate what you do. I appreciate what O does. I appreciate what y'all do together. It's definitely needed in our community, needed in the world. So thank you. Thank you. So for everybody else, until next time, make sure that you stay safe, make sure that you love those around you. And until next time, I will talk with you all.